We go to the third subtopic, the promise at Zamzam. Now, Abdul-Muttalib or Sheba grew up to become one of the greatest leaders of Makkah, loved leaders of Makkah. And remember, I mentioned earlier that all this time, Zamzam water or Zamzam well had disappeared. So people had forgotten about Zamzam well. At this time, Sheba has one son. So one time, Sheba is sleeping at the Kaaba. He loved sleeping at the Kaaba. Remember, he was also the bearer of the key of the Kaaba. So when he is relaxing at the Kaaba, he gets a dream. In the dream, he is asked by a voice to do what? To dig the well of Zamzam. So he wakes up from the dream, and he has never heard of a well of Zamzam, or just the name Zamzam. He ignores the dream. The second day again, he is sleeping, and he gets the same dream to dig the well of Zamzam. But in the second day, he is shown a vision where to dig. So among the Arabs, most of the Arabs worshipped idols, as we have already learned, but some of the Arabs, mostly the descendants of Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, they learned of the God of Nabi Ibrahim, and so for them, they knew about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as there was a lot of idol worshipping going around in Arabian Peninsula. So one of the people who knew about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who they knew as the God of Nabi Ibrahim, was Abdul-Muttalib. And I think that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had chosen him. Allahu ya'lam, Allah knows best. So he told his son of his dream, and together they started digging from where they had seen, from where he had seen in the vision. So they dug for many days, and they were very tired. During the digging, he asked Allah, he said, "Ya Allah, if it's you who has commanded me to dig this well, if it truly exists, once I get it, I ask you of one thing. Bless me with 10 sons, because this work has been very heavy with one son. So if I get 10 sons, it will be easy to do anything. And in return, if you give me 10 sons, I'm going to sacrifice one of the son to you." Yeah, long time ago, sacrificing human among the Arabs, and also before that, some of the communities had normalized it. And that is why even one of the tests that was given to Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam was to sacrifice one of his sons, his own son, that is Nabi Ismail alayhi salam. So Abdul-Muttalib promises Allah, if he gives him 10 sons, he will sacrifice one of the sons. So eventually they get the Zamzam well, and people start again taking water from the well of Zamzam, which is there up to date. When people go for pilgrimage, they visit the well of Zamzam, and they get water from that well, which is very sacred to Muslims. You can use it in many ways. Now, remember, Abdul-Muttalib had given a promise to Allah, and Allah also gave him the 10 sons he had prayed for. And he remembered his promise to Allah. So he talked to his sons and told him what he had promised Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they understood. So long time ago, when Arabs wanted to make a decision, they could draw lots and then go to the Kaaba. There was this wise man who was at the Kaaba. We had many different wise men, old men at the Kaaba, who could help you in making of the decisions. So Abdul-Muttalib tells his son to write their names on spears, and he takes the spears onto this wise man at the Kaaba. The wise man chooses a spear, and the spear is written the name of who? Abdullahi, the last born and the most beloved son of Abdul-Muttalib. So Abdul-Muttalib, because he made a promise to Allah, he doesn't have a choice but to sacrifice Abdullahi. But before he could sacrifice Abdullah or Abdullahi, before he could sacrifice Abdullah, he saw that everyone in the city was very, very mad at him, was very, very angry at him. Why? Because Abdullah was loved by everyone. He had the best behavior. Remember, he was like a messenger. He uh, uh, not a messenger from Allah. What I mean is like people could use him to send him to different places. That is what happened also at the birth of the prophet. When the prophet was the youth, also he was a messenger. Like nowadays in our own office, you can have someone you send some outside when you want to buy something. We call them office messengers. So for him, he was that person who was known all over Makkah. That child who was very humble and who could help anyone in their businesses. So that is why the people in Makkah didn't like the idea of Abdul-Muttalib sacrificing Abdullah. So one of the people suggested to Abdul-Muttalib, when you go to Yathrib, you'll find there is another wise woman who will help you on something to do instead of sacrificing your son Abdullah. So Abdul-Muttalib goes for a journey goes on a journey to Yathrib together with Abdullah and a few of his men. So when they reach there, they explain everything to this wise woman. And the wise woman asked them, what is what is the price of human life, or what is worth of a person? How much is a person worth? And the answer, 10 camels. So how did they get to 10 camels? Because at that time, if you kill someone by mistake, because if you kill someone, the family of the person that had been killed will come and revenge by killing you. But if you did it by mistake, let's say I'm throwing a stone to beat something and then it hits someone, the person dies. So I have to pay something we call blood money to the family. So what was the amount of money being paid? It was camels, 10 camels could be paid to the family of the deceased. So that is why they said a person's life at that time was worth 10 camels. So this wise woman tells Abdul-Muttalib, go back to Makkah, write a name of camels on a spear, write a name of Abdullah on another spear, and then put them, I think, in something like a bucket. Choose one. If you choose the name of camels, then slaughter then 10 camels. But if you choose Abdullah, your son, then redo it again. But now the second time you'll have to do what? To slaughter 20 camels. If you still choose the name of Abdullah, redo it again. For the third time, if you choose now the name of camels, how many camels will you slaughter? 30 camels. It keeps adding 10, 10 up to the time when you will choose camels instead of Abdullah. So that is what Abdul-Muttalib did, and he kept repeating it, repeating again, up to the 10th time. That is when he chose the name of camels instead of Abdullah, his son. And so after that, he repeated it 3 times just to be sure Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was satisfied with his choice. And so the 3 times he repeated, he still chose the camels. So after that, he slaughtered 100 camels, and all the people in Makkah enjoyed, including the birds that were roaming around. It was that much. And so he didn't slaughter his son or sacrifice his son, Abdullah. So Abdullah grew up to be a very, very handsome young man who later on married a very beautiful woman from Yathrib known as Amina, daughter of Wahab. So together they had a son who will come to realize is our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Abdullah never saw his son being born because during Amina's pregnancy, Abdullah went for a journey in Syria. Remember, they could still continue with these caravan journeys, trade caravan journeys. So they went to Syria, and in Syria, when they were coming back, when they were coming back on the way from Syria, he died on the way due to the weather conditions. So he never saw Abdullah being born, and that is why we learn in our seerah, or we learn in the life of the Prophet, that he was born without a father. He had a father who died before he was born. Okay, so Abdullah died on the way, and the caravan continued, went back to Mecca, and they told Abdul-Muttalib that Abdullah was very, very ill on the way. So Abdul-Muttalib sent another son, one of his sons by the name Al-Harith, to go and check on Abdullah, and he found that Abdullah had already died, and they buried him there in Yathrib, which is now known as Medina. So that is it about the promise at Zamzam. Now, we move right ahead on to the next topic. But before that, in this topic, we have learned that Al-Muttalib and Shayba, Al-Muttalib brought his nephew Shayba to Mecca, where locals affectionately nicknamed him Abdul-Muttalib, thinking that he was his slave. Also, we learned that Abdul-Muttalib rediscovered the well of Zamzam, which was lost or had disappeared for a very long time, many, many years, after a dream that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had guided him to where he will find the well of Zamzam. He vowed to sacrifice one of his 10 sons if Allah blessed him with them, that is, the 10 sons. When his vow was fulfilled, Lots determined Abdallah, that is the drawing of lots, writing the name on the spears, his youngest son, to be sacrificed, but the leaders intervened, suggesting drawing lots between Abdallah and camels, which was an idea from the wise woman in Yathrib. And then the challenge went up to 100 camels, that is 10 times, up to 100 camels, which were slaughtered, and everyone enjoyed the meat at that time in Mecca. So the camels were sacrificed, saving Abdullah and feeding the whole of Mecca city. So Abdullah was later married to Amina, the daughter of Wahab.